The goddess is alive.
Magic is afoot.
The goddess is alive.
Magic is afoot.
What the goddess means to me is wholeness and peace. The goddess means to me my internal strength. She has come to me and shown me the beauty that is within myself.
The goddess is my voice. She is my self-empowerment. She's my self-respect. As a result, my life has really undergone some major transformations, not only creatively, but in the pathway that I have now started to take. And I have the works of Budapest to thank for that.
The goddess is alive.
Magic is afoot.
The goddess is alive.
Magic is afoot.
The goddess is alive.
Magic is afoot.
The goddess is alive.
The women's movement today is being called the women's spirituality movement in great part. And that's because it's not just concentrating on areas of social and political reform, but it's looking hard and fast at spiritual reform. Women are gathering today in circles just as their 1960 counterparts did, in consciousness-raising circles. But now they're not just knocking down that door to a man's world asking for entrance. Instead, they're looking at the myths, spiritual beliefs, religions, values, everything that runs our culture, everything that feeds our souls. We're going to take a look at the women's spirituality movement, as it's been called, by the women participating in it who are weaving new stories of a returning goddess. They believe she's back on the planet, alive and well, and she can do a lot for you. We'll also be listening to the stories of a woman who's been called the founding mother of this movement, Zsuzsanna Budapest. You know, they say when women gather in circles, the stories they share become the new creation story, the new mythos that guides our times. This is very much what you're talking about now.
That is where the knowledge comes from, not from people who are going and getting a PhD in this, or the ones who pretend to teach this as anything else than another art course, you know. The knowledge truly comes from gatherings, and gatherings. And anytime women only gather, the paranoia is even bigger because we put the goddess together again. We put the goddess from the dismemberment back into the wholeness, and we learn collectively, and we learn even subliminally. There's another world on the subliminal level where we receive information that nurtures belief systems in us, nurtures the way we look at ourselves. None of this can be written down. This has to be moving on these many, many levels. In women, the hunger is amazing. It comes from being excluded from divinity for millenniums. These are women who have a hunger. They have, their instincts tell them that this is where to get some direction, some spiritual food. They taste it a little bit, usually through books. Then they decide it's time for the second step, which is attendance and being present with it. And then the third one is to take it home and create it again in their own home with friends and make it part of the American lifestyle. The women under the full moon gather together with each other and share cake and wine and good stories. It will become the fabric of our cultural life, as it once was already.
What is witchcraft? You know, I tell people I'm interviewing a witch and they go crazy. You know that, don't you? They get frightened and everything else.
Well, we have the stock answer. We have the poetic answer. I give you my answer. I have sort of like in between. I feel that a witch is whosoever relates to the earth as a conscious, intelligent being, that everything on top of her is equally conscious and intelligent. All of her stuff can hear you. You can pray to the big one through a blade of grass. When you can touch a stone and feel your own age.
You make it sound intoxicating.
Well, to me it's like a heart thing. To me, it's not about how many books you read. Do you know exactly what corner of the universe has to be evoked, how, in which way, what color candles to light for love or money. It's this attitude. I entered feminism as a witch, a genetic witch, so I remembered a lot. Plus, I was an educated witch. And then I said, look, I want to do this with experience. I need it. Let's have a first circle. Let's just begin. And I set the time, December 21st, 1971. And I invited my friends. Many of them didn't come, but 6 of them did come. These were my closest friends. They thought, well, you know, once they trust you, they say, okay, she says she's a witch, but I know her. She makes a mean Hungarian goulash, and she serves good wine, you know. So we had this first gathering, and our lives were changed. I started continuing it. And all I said was, I'll be there. I'll be there facilitating with your help. And immediately put it out so that since I didn't have group experience, I was just a solo witch, I put it out right away that it has to be what everybody's feeling good about things, but here is the structure. And I gave the structure, and then we embroidered on it as we grew. We had to do it differently on the beach. We had to do it differently in the rain. We had to do it differently on a mountaintop under the nice clear sky with a big full moon. We had to do it differently when it was blowing the wind and not too nice, but it was a seasonal change we celebrated. So each Sabbath, each time turned out to be a different, wonderful experience. And it attracted the women in droves. They came all the way from Alaska. They flew in from Hawaii. They heard about the circle. I thought to myself, you know, big God, Mother never took me to her circles. I thought, that's what Mama was doing. This is how I get to it. My mother was the most interesting person I have ever met in my life. Imagine being the daughter of a very unique, very famous, and very well-liked woman who was also a witch, a practicing witch, but she was actually an artist. She created these huge goddess statues. Mother had another thing. She said, if you haven't made any trouble or you have no enemies, you haven't done anything. Before I was born, Mother made big pompous exclamations at parties that if this daughter turns out to be normal, and that was the worst word she could ever use, being normal was so below the par. It was so below contempt. It was so contemptuous that it was almost unspeakable to be normal in my family. She said, I'm going to hang her out the window by her feet until she goes wild. I must have heard that. There was never any reason for her to worry about me being normal. I was arrested for tarot reading. At that point, my circles were 150, 200 women. We were very visible, and I opened a candle shop because our occult supplies came from East LA, and we were on the beach. So I said, it's easier to open a store and stock it here, so we just have to go once. And that's what we did. We opened our own feminist Wicca candle shop, also called as La Bruja Feminista, and we began the study this time earnestly with the stuff that comes with witchcraft. The Dianic tradition is a Central European tradition, which is women's mysteries. In other words, all the rituals that women by themselves take care of is called Dianic. In a Dianic tradition, you don't evoke male gods. That's one of the simple differences from other traditions. You only evoke goddesses. Since there are so many goddesses and goddesses in everything, it's not hard. And it sort of creates a pure female energy circle.